All right, as things start opening up and you can get further in your tango by taking classes with some of the good instructors that are around town, here in Toronto and elsewhere in the world, there are lots of things that they will be able to teach you, and there are lots of things you can learn from them. They're all very good stuff. But there is one thing which is pretty much underlying all of them, and that's what we like to call pivoting. In tango, it's called pivoting. You can think of it as a swiveling action, or maybe even a spinning action, which is going to be on the ball of your foot. The ball of the foot is the middle of this big part. It's not the heel. Remember, there's a specific purpose for the heel. We're not going to be spinning on the heel. We're going to be spinning on the ball of the foot. So, this has gotten to be absolutely fundamental to just about all of the way tango has been danced for the past 90-odd years. And so it's good to get this out of the way. Once you get comfortable with this, you'll get it all figured out. Other things will start coming naturally. You'll be able to pick up things more naturally. So work on this. The other stuff will take care of itself later. Now, if you're coming to this from another style of dance, there's a possibility you may already be familiar with this from what you've done before. One that I can think of in particular, which is a pretty good example, is what we used to call the twist. It was popular in the 60s and 70s. And to do a twist, you would hold your hands out as if you're holding a bath towel, and you would twist back and forth. And you can start twisting to the left, and you can twist to the right. You can twist around. You can twist a leg. You can twist the other leg. You can twist an arm. You can do all this sorts of stuff. It's a whole dance which is pretty much based on this concept. And so if you're familiar with that, this should be fairly easy to pick up. If you're not familiar with it, you are now, because what I just showed you is about the extent of the classes that I got on it just about 40 years ago. And so you've got about as much as I did way back then. So, in tango, we have to adapt things a little bit because we have a little different aesthetic. We're not going to be down like this. Okay? We've got, first off, when we're on the dance floor, we're going to have a partner usually fairly close to us. And so, all of a sudden, we can't do this anymore with our hands. And we can't do this because if we start punching our partner in the belly, she's going to decide not to dance with us anymore. Okay, makes sense? We're also going to be fairly upright and elegant. Okay, we're not going to be slouching down like this, which you can do with the twist, because then you get more of, you make the knee action a little more, like the leg action a little more visible. Here we're not looking for that. We're looking for elegance. And so we're going to be more upright. We're also going to have our weight forward. So our weight is on the balls of the feet anyway, because we have a partner, again, fairly close to us here. And so we're staying forward. She's staying forward. So we can be as close as we need to stay in contact, but we can still keep the space that we need around the feet. And you'll be pivoting on the ball of the feet because that's where your weight is anyway. All right, so to be able to practice this, you can think of putting your feet about shoulder width apart. Keep your weight forward so your weight is on the balls of your feet. And then just pivot one way. Then you can pivot the other way. And you can go back and forth like that while you get the feel of it. And then when you're ready for it, you can let yourself go further around to the point where you start getting into a lock here. And if you want, you can come back the other way until you get locked the other way. And just get used to going back and forth like that. There is actually a reason why I tell you to keep your feet a little bit apart. Why do I tell you that? Is because if you're close together and you start pivoting on the balls of both feet, they're going to crash into each other and you're not going to be able to get very far. So you have to allow for that, keep the feet a little bit apart. Later on, if you have to get closer together, you can do things like lifting a heel to get over the other toe. Okay, that's something you can keep in mind for later. Don't worry about it now. Just focus on getting the pivots. All right, so get used to that, going as far as you can around each way. And then the next question that's going to come up is, okay, let's say I've pivoted around all the way here, and I'm tied up in a little knot here. Now, how do I get out of this? One way is to revolve back the other way, like we do in the practice, going back and forth. But if you're on a dance floor, you'll probably want to try something else. So basically, if you're going to walk out of this, there are two ways of doing it. One is forward and the other is backwards. To be able to go forward, whichever foot is in front, which equates to the leg being in front of the other leg, can move forward. If you're going to go back, whichever one is behind can go back. Now, you'll remember from your high school physics years and years ago, if you're going to be moving, let's say your left foot, as I would right now to go forward, if you're going to be moving your left foot, your weight has to be on the right foot. Okay, we were covering that in a previous video on where your weight is. And so I have a couple of things I can do. One is I can shift back so that I'm balanced on that foot, that back foot, so my left foot is free, and I can step out with my left foot. The other way is as I'm pivoting around, I can bias myself and so that I end up with most of my weight on this right foot. My left foot is free. There's no weight on it. And so I'm free to move out with it. If I want to go to the back, I can come around and bias onto my left foot this time, which is going to be in front. My right foot, which is twisted behind, is now free. And so I can step back with my right foot. If I want to go the other way, I can come around. Here I've gotten onto my right foot, so my left foot is free, and I can go backwards with it to come out. Okay, so that's another thing to work on, which is getting into the twist and then coming out of it. Now, another question that's going to come up eventually is, okay, I can twist around, and we can go until we get into some kind of a lock. How can I go further? How can I keep going? And the answer is, we're going to have to do something to set our fulcrum further along. I can either take my back foot and bring it around the front and carry on around. And I can do it again. Here, I took my front foot and brought it around behind. This way. Okay, here we got the front foot coming behind. And here we got the back foot coming in front. And you can keep on going until you're ready, and then you can come out. You can do the same thing the other way. You may find you'll be doing it to the left more than the right because the way you have the embrace and the way the dance floor is worked out, usually that works out a little simpler, but you can do it either way. and it is good to practice it both ways, and so you get comfortable with it. Now, the last issue is if you have trouble twisting like this. One of the big causes of that is if your shoes are no good for this sort of stuff, if you're using soft soles, rubber soles, something like that, in which case I would suggest going back to a previous video I did, which is talking about shoes. Okay? Having the wrong shoes for this sort of stuff, especially with this pivoting, can be very hard to do to start with, but it can also be dangerous. It can put a lot of stress on your knees and ankles and start bringing injuries on you. So you want to be careful. You make sure your shoes are correct for this. But once you get that, you can practice this as much as you need to, and then you'll find other things just start fitting in as you carry on.